here where this valley comes out, there's a natural waterway. It's a dry riverbed. That is called a wadi. There are rocks all over the place. Somebody pushed all the rocks out of the way to make a path.
In a thrilling breakthrough capturing attention in science and religion, new evidence has emerged that could illustrate an ancient tale. For ages, finding proof of the Red Sea crossing has been challenging for archaeologists, historians, and Bible scholars. But thanks to recent tech advancements and underwater discoveries, scientists might be closer than ever to solving this legendary mystery. Could this new evidence finally confirm the biblical account of the Red Sea crossing? How might these findings reshape our understanding of this legendary event? Join us as we dive deep into the heart of this extraordinary revelation of the Red Sea crossing. The epic Exodus story. In the story of Exodus, the Bible places a remarkable emphasis on the nation of Israel, making it the central character of the entire narrative. This Israel, which has evolved into the modern nation people recognize today, is portrayed as the protagonist in many of the Bible's most astonishing tales. These stories, which span thousands of years, are woven throughout the Bible, but the most compelling accounts are detailed in the book of Exodus. The book of Exodus, named after the Greek word for departure, vividly chronicles the Israelites' dramatic journey from Egypt, where they had endured generations of slavery, to Canaan, the land promised to them by God. This journey is not only a pivotal event in biblical history, but also a foundational story in many religious traditions. One of the most extraordinary events recorded in Exodus is the liberation of the Israelites from Pharaoh's oppressive rule. This story is famous for the 10 plagues that God sent upon Egypt to persuade Pharaoh to release the Israelites. These plagues included the Nile turning to blood, swarms of locusts, and the death of the firstborn sons of Egypt. The dramatic climax comes when Pharaoh finally lets the Israelites go, only to change his mind and pursue them with his army. As the Israelites fled, they reached the Red Sea and found themselves trapped with the sea in front of them and Pharaoh's army closing in from behind. According to the biblical account, this is where the story takes an incredible turn. The Bible recounts a truly astonishing event where the Red Sea parted, allowing the children of Israel to walk through on dry ground with towering walls of water on each side. This event, known as the parting of the Red Sea, is a central narrative in both Jewish and Christian traditions. The timing and magnitude of this miracle are extraordinary. To add to the drama, Pharaoh and his army pursued the Israelites through the parted sea. However, the waters returned at the precise moment the Israelites had safely crossed, engulfing the Egyptian forces and preventing their escape. Imagine being one of the Israelites who witnessed this incredible scene. Consider trying to explain how a massive body of water seemed to have a mind of its own, parting to create a dry path for about 2 million people. The sheer scale of the miracle is staggering. The Red Sea, also known as the Sea of Reeds, is roughly 1,400 miles long and varies in depth, but the Bible describes it as if it miraculously parted to accommodate the passage of an entire nation. The event is not just a remarkable story, but also a significant element in understanding ancient perceptions of divine intervention and miraculous occurrences. Archaeological and historical research has examined the plausibility of such events, exploring theories from natural phenomena, like tidal waves or strong winds, to support the biblical narrative. Despite these investigations, the story remains a profound symbol of faith and divine power, having been passed down through thousands of years and continues to inspire wonder and debate. It's fascinating but true. Many people find this story entirely believable. According to the Bible, this extraordinary event was orchestrated by God to showcase His immense power to all the nations of the world, particularly through the people of Israel. This divine demonstration is believed to be a clear sign of God's might and purpose, which explains why it is embraced by so many, nearly everyone, that is, except scientists. Scientists, however, have a different approach. They base their beliefs on empirical evidence and logical reasoning. For any event to be accepted as truth in the scientific community, it must be supported by solid facts and rigorous data. For instance, historical events are scrutinized through archaeological findings, documented records, and physical evidence. In contrast, religious or divine explanations, while powerful and significant in cultural contexts, do not always align with scientific methods. One notable example of this tension is the debate over miracles reported in various religious texts. Scientists seek natural explanations and observable evidence for these occurrences. A famous case is the parting of the Red Sea as described in the Bible, which some scientists have tried to explain through natural phenomena like volcanic eruptions or strong winds. However, as long as such events remain unexplained by established scientific laws, they remain controversial. The quest for understanding continues, with researchers delving into ancient texts, conducting experiments, and analyzing data to bridge the gap between historical accounts and scientific explanations. Until solid, verifiable evidence is found, stories that defy the laws of science will continue to spark debate and curiosity. The truth behind the Red Sea crossing. The story of the third sea crossing indeed sparks a lot of debate, and it's easy to see why. The notion that an ocean could part on its own is quite extraordinary and runs counter to our current understanding of physics and geology. Firstly, there's no scientific law or theory that supports the idea of an ocean splitting apart by itself. The forces that govern Earth's physical processes, such as gravity and ocean currents, would work against such a scenario. For instance, gravity, which is a fundamental force, constantly pulls everything towards the Earth's center. It doesn't just turn off or become weaker in one spot. Considering the famous biblical story of the Red Sea parting, which is often cited in these discussions, if the Red Sea had split to create a path with towering walls of water, the forces involved would have been staggering. According to some estimates, the height of the water walls would need to be over 100 feet high to accommodate the mass of people and animals. Maintaining such a structure without it collapsing due to gravity would be a monumental challenge. Additionally, real-life phenomena like tidal waves or tsunamis could potentially cause temporary flooding, but they wouldn't create a stable, walkable path through the ocean. Research into similar events shows that while large waves or seismic activity can cause brief changes in water levels, they do not produce the miraculous conditions described. Some suggest that a divine or supernatural force could explain such an event, but this isn't something scientists can verify through empirical evidence. For instance, modern science relies on reproducible experiments and observable data, and divine intervention falls outside this scope. Until concrete evidence is found, the idea that an ocean could part and allow millions of people to walk through on dry ground remains a fascinating but controversial topic. Several archaeologists and scholars believe that the pharaoh who ruled during the Exodus may not have been trapped under the waters as described in the biblical account. Instead, they propose that he could have continued to reign for several more years after the Israelites were freed from Egyptian bondage. This hypothesis is based on historical records and inscriptions that suggest the pharaoh's reign might have extended beyond the Exodus event. For example, some researchers point to the lack of definitive archaeological evidence for the mass drowning of Pharaoh's army, which has led to debates about the historical accuracy of the biblical story. It is also suggested that the pharaoh's body might have been retrieved, or that he might have remained on land while his army was caught in the waters. To resolve these conflicting views, scientists and historians have undertaken extensive investigations, including underwater excavations and analysis of ancient texts. Their goal is to uncover more evidence about the Exodus and its historical context. However, this task is complicated by the vast differences between today's advanced technology and the ancient world. Finding the precise path through the ocean that has likely existed for over 4,000 years is a monumental challenge. For scientists studying the Gulf of Asaba, pinpointing the exact location of the Red Sea crossing is crucial. Fortunately, ancient texts, such as those found in the Bible, offer remarkably detailed descriptions of the crossing site. These descriptions have narrowed the search to specific areas around Egypt, providing a valuable guide. According to these ancient accounts, the crossing must have occurred in a vast body of water, with a minimum depth of 2,000 feet. This depth requirement is significant because it helps eliminate smaller bodies of water such as lakes and shallow rivers, which are not deep enough. The Gulf of Asaba, located between the Sinai Peninsula and Saudi Arabia, fits this criterion perfectly, with depths reaching over 1,800 feet. Early researchers initially focused on the Gulf of Suez, another potential crossing site, but this area proved to be an incorrect choice. The Gulf of Suez is considerably shallower, with depths averaging around 900 feet. The discrepancy between the depth required by the scriptures and the actual depth of the Gulf of Suez led to the realization that this was not the site of the crossing. The Gulf of Asaba. After an exhaustive search, scientists stumbled upon a body of water that perfectly matched the biblical description of the crossing site. This remarkable location is the Gulf of Asaba, a stretch of water renowned for its striking features. One of the most astonishing discoveries was the depth of the Gulf of Asaba. It plunges to around 5,000 feet at its deepest point. For comparison, the Empire State Building is about 1,454 feet tall, including its antenna, so the Gulf's deepest sections are roughly 3 times the height of this iconic skyscraper. The enormity of this depth means that the walls of water described in the biblical account would have been staggeringly high, far surpassing any modern building. Imagine towering walls of water, thousands of feet high, flanking the Israelites as they made their perilous journey. These towering water walls would have been so immense that the Israelites, likely feeling small and insignificant, could scarcely comprehend their grandeur. Adding to the drama of the scene, the Gulf of Asaba is strategically positioned along ancient trade routes and has always been a crucial area in regional history. It serves as a natural barrier between the Sinai Peninsula and the Arabian Peninsula, enhancing the strategic significance of the crossing. The crossing would have been further intensified by the presence of the Egyptian chariots in close pursuit. Chariots were the high-tech military vehicles of the time, providing a formidable threat. The Israelites' experience of being flanked by colossal walls of water while evading an advancing army must have been both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The Bible recounts a dramatic episode where a powerful wind parted the ocean, creating a path through the sea. This extraordinary event, often referred to as the parting of the Red Sea, not only involved the splitting of the waters, but also subjected the people to intense, continuous gusts of wind for several hours. This wind, described in some accounts as being strong enough to dry the seabed, added an element of chaos to their escape. Imagine being part of a community that had grown accustomed to a certain level of comfort and stability in Egypt, with regular meals and a predictable routine, suddenly led into the unknown by a single leader, Moses, with no clear plan or guarantee of reaching the promised land. This situation must have been incredibly stressful. The people's fear and doubt were palpable, especially when they expressed a preference to remain in Egypt rather than face the harsh realities of the desert. Adding to the sense of hopelessness was the imminent threat from the Egyptian army. The Egyptians were known for their advanced chariot technology, which allowed them to travel faster than most other armies of the time. As the Israelites fled, the Egyptian chariots, capable of speeds up to 25 miles per hour, relentlessly pursued them. Despite walking for 10 days, the Israelites were still within range of being caught by their pursuers, heightening their desperation and fear. So, in their minds, They likely felt trapped with no escape from the Egyptian army's chariots. Shifting the focus and exploring a fascinating question: was the Gulf of Asaba truly the location of the biblical crossing? And if so, how did scientists come to this conclusion? Depth alone isn't enough to pinpoint the exact crossing site. There could be other areas with similar depths. The Gulf of Asaba, located at the northern tip of the Red Sea, has been the subject of intense investigation. Recent studies use advanced underwater technology, including sonar mapping and submersibles, to explore the region's depths and find clues. Some researchers have discovered ancient coral reefs and underwater land formations that match descriptions from historical texts. Additionally, artifacts such as chariot wheels and human remains have been uncovered, providing more context. By piecing together these findings with historical accounts, scientists are getting closer to understanding whether this was indeed the crossing point. The combination of archaeological evidence and advanced technology helps to provide a clearer picture, making this search not only a quest for historical truth, but also a thrilling journey into the past. Secrets of the Gulf of Asaba. The Gulf of Asaba, located in the northeastern corner of the Arabian Peninsula, is a striking geographical feature bordered by Egypt, Jordan, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. This body of water holds significant historical and biblical interest due to its connections with ancient events described in the Book of Exodus. What makes the Gulf of Asaba particularly intriguing is its role in the biblical narrative of the Red Sea crossing. The Gulf of Asaba is a natural extension of the Red Sea, which has been a major maritime route for thousands of years. The biblical account of the Israelites' escape from Egypt describes them crossing a large body of water, which many scholars believe could be the Gulf of Asaba. Mount Sinai, located on the opposite side of the Red Sea from the Gulf, is traditionally considered the site where Moses received the Ten Commandments. The proximity of the Gulf to Mount Sinai supports the theory that this was the location of the Red Sea crossing. This area has been a focal point of archaeological and historical research as scholars search for evidence to support the biblical narrative. Adding to the interest, the Gulf of Asaba is surrounded by dramatic geological formations. One of these formations is the narrow gorge known as the Pahath, which translates to the opening of the mouth in Hebrew. This gorge is flanked by towering granite walls, creating a natural passage that aligns with the biblical description of a constricted path. When the Bible recounts the dramatic scene where the Israelites looked behind them and saw Pharaoh's army bearing down and a vast ocean ahead, it pinpoints a significant location. This spot aligns with the biblical account of God intervening to protect the Israelites. According to the story in the Book of Exodus, a pillar of cloud descended, casting the Egyptian army into deep darkness while the Israelites crossed the Red Sea. The gorge, known as Pi-Hahiroth, is pivotal in this narrative. This natural passageway leads to an area called Wadi Watir, which would have been a central point if this location were indeed the site of the Exodus. Remarkably, the geography of this region still supports this theory. The Red Sea's crossing is one of the most debated events in biblical history, and this particular gorge fits well with the physical description provided in ancient texts. However, the landscape has dramatically changed over the centuries. Modern infrastructure, including roads and buildings, now covers much of the area. The Gulf of Asaba, once a remote and uncharted stretch of water, has become a bustling international shipping route. Today, it handles a substantial portion of global trade, including products from the Dead Sea. What's particularly fascinating is that beneath these busy waters, scientists have uncovered evidence that might substantiate the biblical account of the Red Sea crossing. Submerged artifacts and remains found in the Gulf of Asaba hint at an ancient event that aligns with the biblical narrative. Now that they've successfully identified the location described in the Bible as the site of the crossing, and the details match up so well, they can confidently say that a significant milestone has been achieved. This alignment of evidence not only lends credibility to the biblical account, but also suggests that the story might contain a kernel of truth. For instance, archaeological findings in this area have revealed remnants of ancient infrastructure that could correspond to the biblical descriptions of the crossing event. Furthermore, ongoing research in the region known as Wadi Watir has been particularly revealing. During the rainy season, this area transforms into a vast expanse of water, sometimes so much that it floods the nearby modern road, showcasing the geographical changes over time. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. For centuries, the tale of the Red Sea crossing was relegated to the realm of myth and legend. Skeptics dismissed it as mere folklore, while believers held on to the story with unwavering faith. Then, in the scorching summer of 2024, everything changed. A team of intrepid marine archaeologists, led by Dr. Elena Martinez, had been exploring the seabed near the Sinai Peninsula. The expedition was driven by a tantalizing clue discovered in ancient manuscripts, a reference to chariots lost beneath the waves. Despite years of searching, they had yet to uncover anything remarkable. One sweltering afternoon, as the crew's submersible scanned the ocean floor, a series of unusual shapes appeared on the sonar. Hearts pounding with anticipation, they descended deeper. What they saw left them speechless. Rows of chariot wheels, perfectly preserved, glittering under layers of sediment. Among them lay human and horse bones, eerily silent testaments to a catastrophic event. Dr. Martinez and her team painstakingly excavated the site, uncovering hieroglyphs that spoke of a great exodus and a miraculous parting of the sea. The crowning discovery was a golden amulet inscribed with the name Moses. The world's media descended upon the site, and the story captivated millions. Scientists, historians, and theologians debated the findings, but one thing was undeniable. The evidence was overwhelming. The Red Sea crossing was no longer just a story. It was a historical event, etched into the ocean's depths. The discovery reignited discussions about the intersection of faith and science, bridging divides and sparking new explorations into the ancient past. As Dr. Martinez gazed at the shimmering artifacts, she couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. They had not just uncovered relics, they had found a piece of humanity's shared history. Could these findings finally unravel the mystery of how such a monumental event occurred? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Ancient pillar and soul of Moses fish. Scientists recently made a breathtaking discovery in a dry riverbed that left them stunned and provided the first compelling evidence of an ancient event. Among the scattered rocks, they observed that these stones appeared to have been intentionally displaced, forming a distinct path. This interesting formation suggests that the area might have been shaped by a powerful wind or some other natural phenomenon, potentially aligning with the biblical account of the Red Sea parting, which created a path of dry ground. The key moment came when researcher Ron White uncovered an ancient pillar submerged in the water. At first glance, the pillar seemed like an ordinary artifact, seemingly irrelevant to the epic story of a crossing that took place thousands of years ago. Yet this seemingly unremarkable find turned out to be extraordinary. White carefully extracted the pillar and cleaned it, revealing that despite significant erosion, likely due to prolonged exposure to water, the artifact retained ancient Hebrew inscriptions. This was a remarkable feat in itself because Hebrew inscriptions from that era are rare and often poorly preserved. To everyone's astonishment, the inscriptions were still legible and identified the pillar as having been erected by King Solomon. It seems that the ancient pillar was erected to mark a significant location, the presumed site of the Red Sea crossing, a key event in biblical history. This pillar not only serves as a historical marker, but also as a tribute to the dramatic events described in the Bible. While it doesn't offer concrete proof of the crossing, It adds valuable context to the quest for understanding what might have happened. A particularly intriguing clue linked to the Red Sea crossing is a peculiar species of fish found beneath the Gulf of Asaba. This area is significant because it's part of the Red Sea, where many believe the biblical crossing took place. Scientists exploring the depths of this gulf discovered a unique fish species that appears nowhere else in the world. Locals refer to it as the soul of Moses, which adds a layer of cultural significance to the find. What makes this fish extraordinary is its eye placement. Unlike most fish that have their eyes on opposite sides of their heads, this species has both eyes positioned on the same side. This unusual feature has sparked local legends. According to folklore, when the Red Sea parted at Moses' command, this fish thoroughly split into two, symbolizing the event. When archaeologists delved into the depths of the Gulf of Asaba, they uncovered some surprising truths about the legendary Red Sea crossing. For centuries, people have envisioned the Israelites walking along a smooth, straight path through the waters. However, recent underwater explorations revealed a much different reality. The Gulf of Asaba, part of the Red Sea, has a highly irregular seafloor. Using advanced sonar technology and submersibles, scientists discovered that the ocean floor is marked by steep underwater canyons, ridges, and plateaus. Some areas are incredibly deep, reaching depths of over 1,800 feet, while others rise sharply toward the surface. This uneven terrain suggests that the crossing was far from a simple stroll. The Israelites would have had to navigate through a treacherous landscape of submerged hills and valleys, making the journey much more complex than previously imagined. Moreover, geological studies have shown that the Gulf of Asaba was formed through tectonic activity, with its current depth and structure resulting from millions of years of shifting plates. This means that the underwater landscape has a history of dramatic changes, adding another layer of intrigue to the mystery. Interestingly, the very complexity of the Gulf's underwater terrain became a crucial clue for archaeologists. The varying depths and rugged features helped them identify potential paths and artifacts, shedding light on the true nature of the crossing and providing a more accurate picture of this ancient event. Red Sea Revelation. According to the Bible, Pharaoh and his army chased the Israelites through a miraculous dry path that opened in the middle of the Red Sea. This event, described in the book of Exodus, is often referred to as the parting of the Red Sea. The Israelites, led by Moses, crossed safely on the dry seabed, but as Pharaoh's forces followed, disaster struck. Amid the sea, the chariots began to malfunction dramatically. Ancient Egyptian chariots were sophisticated war machines featuring spoked wheels and often decorated with intricate designs. However, the wheels of Pharaoh's chariots started falling off, and the chariots became stuck, making it impossible for the soldiers to advance or retreat. This breakdown may have been caused by a sudden shift in the seabed or a supernatural force, as described in the biblical account. As the waters began to return, they overwhelmed the chariots and the soldiers. The description of this event portrays a chaotic scene where the soldiers, trapped and powerless, would have experienced a terrifying struggle. The waters, rushing back with immense force, would have created a powerful torrent, pulling everything beneath the surface. This catastrophic event involved an estimated 600 chariots, a substantial number for an ancient army. The chariots, along with the soldiers' weapons and armor, would have been swept into the depths of the sea. Today, scientists and archaeologists speculate that remnants of this event could still be preserved on the ocean floor. Researchers have been exploring potential sites along the Gulf of Asaba, where some believe the crossing may have occurred, hoping to find artifacts such as chariot wheels, spears, swords, and pieces of armor. Underwater archaeology has revealed various artifacts from ancient times in the region, such as pottery and tools. which suggests that searching for remnants of Pharaoh's army is not entirely far-fetched. In an astonishing turn of events, recent discoveries have provided compelling evidence that supports the ancient story of the Red Sea crossing. This revelation is a breakthrough for those who have long believed in the biblical narrative. Archaeologists conducted deep-sea explorations in the Red Sea and unearthed remarkable artifacts from the time of the event. Among the discoveries were chariot remnants that date back approximately 3,500 years. They found wheels separated from their chariots and remnants of chariot bodies that had disintegrated and scattered across the ocean floor. These artifacts were located near a submerged land bridge that aligns with the biblical description of the crossing site. The team also discovered fossilized horse bones, further corroborating the biblical account. These bones belong to horses that lived during the period traditionally associated with the Exodus, providing a tangible link to the ancient Egyptian army. The significance of finding horse bones is profound. Unlike human remains, which could theoretically come from various sources such as shipwrecks, horse skeletons are far less likely to be found in large quantities in a single underwater location. The presence of these bones suggests that a significant number of horses and chariots were indeed lost in the sea, aligning closely with the biblical narrative. Interestingly, the underwater archaeological site also revealed coral-encrusted artifacts, including parts of what might have been ancient weapons and tools. These findings suggest that the site could have been a battlefield or a staging area for an ancient conflict. This discovery has not only provided physical evidence that supports a well-known historical account, but also opened up new avenues for research into ancient Egyptian warfare and technology. What makes this discovery even more fascinating is that archaeologists haven't uncovered all the evidence yet. Hundreds of artifacts still lie underwater, waiting to be discovered. Interestingly, the Gulf of Asaba is part of the larger Red Sea, a body of water that has fascinated historians, scientists, and religious scholars for centuries. The story of the Red Sea crossing, as described in the Bible, matches the geographical features of this area with surprising accuracy. The underwater terrain includes an underwater land bridge, which some believe could have been used during the crossing. Moreover, the chariot wheels and parts that have been found so far have been analyzed and dated back to the time of ancient Egypt, specifically the 18th dynasty, which is believed to coincide with the time of Moses. These artifacts are not just lying around, they have been carefully studied and displayed in museums, offering a tangible link to the past. What are your thoughts about the evidence that scientists have discovered to prove the crossing of the Red Sea? Let us have your opinions in the comment below.